Hi, I'm Carlina Sharon, Director of Early Childhood Education for Hardin County Schools, and we are so fortunate tonight to have Polly Beebe with us, a conscious discipline trainer who has worked with our staff today. We have used conscious discipline in our district for 3 years and love it because it's very designed for young children. So tonight we're fortunate to have Polly be able to spend a little time with our parents sharing some information that is specific to questions you have asked or things you are interested in. So I hope you enjoy this time. Here is Polly.
So in conscious discipline, one of the things we talk about a lot is being able to regulate ourselves. And what that means is just being able to be calm and to be present with our children. And so we do that through taking some deep breaths. So I want to encourage you right now just to relax. Go ahead and put your hand on your belly. And what you want to do when you're inhaling, actually your belly is going to come out. So you're going to inhale, your belly comes out, and then you're going to exhale, nice and slow. You can close your eyes and relax. Then we're going to inhale again and belly comes out. And exhale. As you exhale, relax your eyes, relax your shoulders. And one more inhale. And exhale. And hopefully you feel a little more relaxed. I encourage you anytime during the day when something's happening, life is not going exactly as you were hoping that it would go, is just think about that and take those 3 deep breaths. When we do that, we're able to access our higher brain states, which we're going to talk about in just a minute, and we're able to help our children or anyone that's around us when we can do that. I wanted to briefly explain to you the conscious discipline brain model. And this, all that we do is based on our brain and what different brain state we are in. So we're actually going to use our hands for this. So I'm going to assume that you've got your hand up like this. Press the bottom of where your arm meets your hand, and we're going to say survival state. Say that with me, survival state. Then we're going to put our thumb in and say emotional state. Emotional state. And then you're going to put your hand over like this and say executive state. Executive state. So we've got survival state, we have emotional state, and we have executive state. And the executive state is the state where all learning takes place. So when we're working with children, when we're working with adults, the only way we can solve a problem is if we are in this executive state. So I want to talk just very briefly about each state and maybe some of the behaviors that you might see in that state. So in the survival state, that is a state where you're going to see fight or flight. That's a state where there might be hitting, kicking, just big physical movement. And that part of the brain is actually asking, am I safe? So we're going to talk about how can we provide some predictability and safety for our children. The emotional state of our brain, that state is a little bit on the mouthy side. That's where we're going to see a lot of verbal aggression. For 4-year-olds, it might sound like, I hate you, you can't play with me, that type of behavior. And that emotional state is actually asking, am I loved? And that state needs some connection. And then we get to our wonderful, wonderful executive state. This is where we can problem solve. This is where we have a set of skills that are called our executive function skills. It's where we can manage our time, we can prioritize, we can solve problems when we're here. And the tricky part is, depending on if we're working with an adult or working with a child, in order to be able to help them, we have to help them upshift to this executive state. And so what we have to do is we have to provide safety, we have to provide connection and problem solving. So if you guys would do that with me, we're going to provide safety, connection, and problem solving. And when we can provide that, that is when we get to teach our children new skills and provide support and help for them. So what we're going to do next is I'm going to just go through some strategies that will help with the survival state, with safety. I'm going to go through some strategies that will help with the emotional state of connection, and then we'll talk about how we can solve some problems, and I will be answering some of your questions during that. So a great activity, we were talking about Sometimes we're doing our learning at home, sometimes we're doing our learning at school. So we do something in conscious discipline that is called a brain smart start. And what is great about a brain smart start is that it answers the question of safety. It answers the question of connection, and it answers the question of problem solving. So the first thing that you want to do is do a uniting activity. That just gets everybody on the same page, everyone ready to learn. So if you were thinking about a time when you were getting ready to do some work with your child, you want to go through the steps that we're going to go through. And once you go through those steps, then you're helping your child reach that executive state so that they are ready to learn whatever it is that you're putting in front of them. So the first thing that we do is a uniting activity. And a uniting activity is just anything that we do together. So it could be a favorite song, it could be a dance party, it could be just something that we do together. The next thing that you want to do is you want to disengage stress. We talked about when we first started about taking those 3 deep breaths. When we take these 3 deep breaths, that helps the lower brain state, that helps the survival state feel safe. So in conscious discipline, we have 4 different breathing strategies that I'm going to model. So the first one is a star. So with the star, we're going to smile. We're going to take a big deep breath in, and we're going to relax. And when you do the breathing, we encourage you to do it 3 times. By the 3rd time, usually the stress response will start to relax. The next one is the balloon, always a fun one for young ones. So we're going to put the balloon on our head, and we're going to inhale. We're going to pop the balloon and then let the air out. And again, you would do that 3 different times. The pretzel, I'm going to show you the abbreviated version that's a little bit easier. So for the pretzel, they would cross their legs and just give themselves a big hug and take a big deep breath in and exhale. And again, you would want to do that 3 times. And then the drain, you're going to take your hands out like this and pretend like you're filling your hands up with water. So you're going to inhale, make it nice and tight, and then just relax. So that is the second part. So we're going to do that activity to unite is going to be first, just something that we do all together like a dance party. Then the second thing that you're going to do is this activity to disengage stress. Some type of deep breathing. Connection is so important. That's the next step. Connection really helps with this emotional state of am I loved? When we do a connection activity, it also has 4 components. We're going to have eye contact, we're going to have touch, we're going to have presence, and we want it to be playful. When we do these connections with our children, they're so powerful. What they're doing is they're actually helping build brains. They're actually helping build neural pathways to help a child be more likely to come up to this executive state. So anytime we can add, I like to say connection before correction. So we want to make sure that we're doing these connection activities purposely throughout the day. The last part of the Brain Smart Start is a commitment. You want your children to make a commitment for what they want to do. Maybe if you were doing at-home learning for the entire day, this is just an example, like I'll complete all my schoolwork today, or I'll clean up my work area and put away everything I take out. Or this might be for a child that's having some emotional upset, I'm going to take 3 deep breaths when things get hard today. Or I'm going to use kind and encouraging words. So we want to start these commitments. These commitments help the higher centers, they help the executive state really make a plan and make a goal, and then you help your child work toward that goal. So think about adding those commitments before you get ready to start learning at home. So we're going to do a uniting activity, which can be a song or a dance. Then we're going to do disengaging stress, where we're going to do a breathing strategy. We're going to do a connection activity that includes eye contact, touch, presence in a playful situation, and then we're going to finish with a commitment or a goal for our time together. So once you do that, and it sounds like a lot, but it really takes maybe 2 minutes, and then you've really set yourself up because you've helped the child upshift to the executive state, which is that state where they are able to learn. So I encourage you to do that anytime before you're getting ready to do a learning activity. This is the same thing that we do in our classrooms. Every morning when I come in my classroom, I do this Brain Smart Start so that I can help my children be ready to learn for the day. The next thing that we're going to talk about is ways to support children in their moments of upset. And this can be challenging. I know as a parent it can be extremely challenging, but we're going to use this little ABC acronym. And the first one is awareness. And the first part is about us, and that can be hard sometimes, but we have to be aware of our own inner state. Is your heart beating really fast? Are you starting to feel angry? Are you starting to feel frustrated? So you have to understand your awareness first, because what is important to realize is a child cannot be in a higher brain state than their caregiver or their parent. So if you've got a child and they're in, let's just say, a survival state, and they're screaming and they're on the floor, and then I as the parent get upset and start yelling at them for why are they on the floor having a fit, I cannot help this child upshift to the executive state. So I have to, and like I said, easier said than done, I have to stay in my executive state, and I do that through actively calming myself before I go to help the child. A good analogy is if you're on a plane and you're traveling with a young child, they always tell you put on your own oxygen mask first before you put on the oxygen mask of the little one that you're with. So kind of think of it that way, and think of how can I calm myself? How can I take a couple deep breaths so then I can help the child who's experiencing the upset? The B is to take some deep belly breaths. We just talked about that, but you want to really slow it down. So when you inhale, relax, and then exhale, and really slow it down. And you want your exhale to be a little bit longer than your inhale, and do it as many times as you need to help yourself be ready to help that child. And then you're going to teach that child those breathing strategies. That's why we're doing the Brain Smart Start. So if you've practiced those breathing strategies with your child every day, then in the moment of upset, they will have that skill to use. And if you've modeled it, then they will be able to do it. And then the C is closeness. And that is when you just hold the child, or you embrace them, and you are that co-regulator. So when that child is upset, you don't want to just send them away, even though that is tempting. You want to be able to calm yourself and hold them and breathe with them. And then once they are regulated, once you've been able to upshift them, then we get to teach them a strategy of what to do next time. Maybe the fit was about not getting their way or something like that. Then we get to teach that skill, but we cannot teach it when they're in the lower state, when they're in that moment of upset. That's not a time that we can teach them that new skill. So like I said, in order to increase connection, increase cooperation, we need more connection. And so it has those components that I talked about. Let's say them again just so we remember them. So there's going to be eye contact, there's going to be touch, there's going to be presence, and there's going to be a playful situation. So again, we want to have all those components. In conscious discipline, we have some wonderful connection activities that are called I Love You rituals. You can find these, there's a book, the I Love You Ritual book, and you can find them on the website also. So I want to kind of model it with my little baby here, what it would look like if I was doing this connection activity with my child. And so it would look like this. It would be, twinkle, twinkle, little star, what a wonderful child you are. With bright eyes and nice round cheeks, a talented person from head to feet. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, what a wonderful child you are. And notice how I had eye contact. There was touch, there was presence, and there was playfulness. And when we're doing those connection activities, our body is producing all these feel-good chemicals like oxytocin, dopamine. And what that does is it releases in our bodies, and you just get that feel good. And so when children are able to do that with you, they just are going to be much more likely to cooperate with you and be willing to do whatever it is that you're asking them to do. And we're also building neural pathways through these connections so that when a child is in that survival state, they are more likely to be able to move up to their executive state because we've built these pathways, which we build through connection. So now, then once we've been able to upshift, then we can start to teach children to regulate. And so we have to really think, am I helping them regulate and handle their upset? Am I seeing from their point of view? And am I teaching them a way to get their needs met? So we have lots of jobs as parents, and one of them is to, just like I'm going to help teach them to read, I'm going to teach them what to do when things don't go exactly like what they want to do. So we're going to focus on what we want them to do, and we do that through something called ACT. And in ACT, the first thing I'm going to do is just acknowledge the child's feelings, wants, or wishes. I'm going to clarify what skills they need to use, and then I'm going to actually have them practice it so that the next time they'll be more likely to be able to do it. So this is just an example. If we've got a child that is yelling at the dinner table, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to acknowledge what they wanted. So I'm just going to say, you wanted to get my attention. Now the great thing is, if that's not what they wanted, they'll correct you. Kids are wonderful. They'll tell you exactly what's going on. So they'll correct you if that's not what they wanted. And you just go with it. Oh, you wanted whatever it was. Then C is to clarify what you want them to do. So we're just going to say, when you want my attention, maybe tap me on the shoulder, raise your hand, say my name, whatever it is that you want them to do. And you want to make sure it's something you're okay with. So if you're not okay with them tapping you on the shoulder when they want your attention, come up with something else. Say my name, say mom, or whatever that is. And then it's so, so important when we get down to practice. So then you want them actually to do it. So then you want them to say, hey mom. And then we encourage them, you did it. You raised your hand and said my name, so I would know that you wanted my attention. So that is kind of what that looks like. Now it gets a little bit harder when we're getting into some behaviors like hitting. And this tends to, when that happens, at least I can speak from my own experience, when that happened in my household, I wasn't always able to stay in this executive state and be able to respond versus react. So the first thing you want to do is be a star. You want to regulate yourself. You want to take a nice big deep breath in. Then you want to say something like this. It doesn't have to be exactly like this, but your body is telling me you feel angry. It's scary when you feel that way, feel out of control. I'm going to keep you safe. And then I'm going to have to regulate them a little bit more before I'm going to tell them what to do next time instead of telling them not to hit yet, because they're still down here. So I'm just going to be there with them. I'm going to co-regulate with them. I'm still going to get it like your body is telling me you feel really angry right now. And that is scary. Breathe with me. And it might take us 10 minutes to breathe through this until they're able to upshift a little bit so that I can teach the skill. So then what's important to remember is that I have to upshift them a little bit before I can teach them what to do. So it might sound something like you wanted your sister to know how you felt so angry and you hit her. Then we set the limit and clarify what they can do. You may not hit. Hitting hurts. When you feel angry, you can say, I feel angry, or you can go to a safe place and breathe. So when we give them choices, which we'll talk about in just a minute, it really does empower them because they feel like they're spending all day with people telling them what to do, what not to do. So that just gives them an opportunity to have a little bit of choice. But when you're giving these choices, it's two things that you want to happen. So in this scenario, you can either say, I feel angry, or go to a safe place and continue to breathe. And then once they do that, you want to celebrate it and you want to have them practice this. It's my analogy I kept using with the teachers, and I'm not even a big sports fan, but was basketball. And that I could not just go out and shoot, I was about to call it a hole-in-one. Yeah, see, I'm not that much into sports, but anyway, you know what I'm saying. So I could not shoot that basket without lots and lots of practice. So this is the same thing. thing. We have got to show them and tell them over and over again what to do, and then they'll be able to do it, but it's not going to happen time one. So we're going to just give them grace and know that this is something, it's my job, like I said, to teach you how to read. It's also my job to teach you what to do when things don't go exactly like you were hoping that they would go. So one thing, like I said, that does really help is giving children 2 positive choices when you're looking for compliance. Again, I don't know, it's a theme. I don't know if you've noticed it, but we always start with breathing because that is going to ensure that I am upshifted so that I can help you by giving you 2 positive choices. Then we just say you have a choice, and then I give the 2 choices. You can, let's just pretend like a child is hopping around the grocery store. You can walk with me and hold my hand, or you can walk and hold the cart. Which do you choose? But notice that I say it very calmly. I'm not getting upset about it. I'm just giving them 2 choices of what I want them to do, and I have to be happy with whatever choice they make. And then once they make the choice, this is the kicker, you've got to notice and celebrate. So let's say they chose to push the cart, then I'm just going to say, you did it. You chose to push the cart. Way to go. And I'm going to celebrate that choice that they made. So we had a few questions that people asked that I'm going to go ahead and answer. So the first one was, what is a good bedtime routine for children during the school year? This is so important. Thinking about our lower centers of the brain love a pattern and they love predictability. So I'm going to give a couple examples of a bedtime routine, but you're going to do a bedtime routine that works for your family. I encourage you to make it in just a few steps and not a lot of steps, but the main thing is that you keep it consistent. Because again, the brain is pattern seeking and children love predictability, believe it or not. And so if I can provide that predictable schedule for them, they're much more likely to follow it. And also, children under the age of 8 think in pictures. So I don't want to go, okay, our routine is we're going to brush our teeth, we're going to go put our pajamas on, we're going to read a book and go to bed, because all that verbiage is just going everywhere. So I want to actually have a visual for each part of that. So and you can make it super, super simple. You can just draw this out. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. It is helpful if you want to take pictures of your child actually doing those things and then just put it on just a little strip of paper. And if you could do Velcro and they get the opportunity to, so let's say the first thing was brush your teeth and then they just have a little Velcro of them brushing their teeth. They put it on there. Okay, I did that. Number 2 was pajamas. So I'm going to go ahead and put my pajamas on. Put the little Velcro on there. Number 3 was we're going to read a story. So we read the story, put it on there. Now it's time for bed. And if you can keep that consistency and that predictability, it is so, so helpful. I'm also going to encourage you now to start those routines soon, because I can speak from my own experience. We've been staying up a little bit later at my house, and we've been we've been on summer. We've been summering. So school is going to start fairly soon, so you don't want to say, okay, we're going to get that routine and we're going to do it the night before they go to school, because then the next day they're going to be super tired and it's going to be hard to start that pattern. So start that pattern now. Start that predictability now, so that when school does come, you've already got this pattern going and you know exactly what is going to happen. So the next one is just some strategies for redirecting your child when they seem out of control. This is a good one. The one thing you really need to think about is you. So when my child's out of control, usually I get out of control. So again, I just need to think about calming myself first, so that I can model what I want the child to do. And then it might sound something like, wow, your body is showing me that you've got a lot of energy right now. So you can go run out on the playground, or you can hop on the trampoline or something, because there's some energy that goes along with this. So notice I went back to the 2 positive choices, focusing on what I want them to do. And the last one was, what is one of the best things I can do to help my child understand expectations and rules? That's another good one. The number one thing I'm going to say is for you to be consistent, and for everyone in your family to be consistent. So this might be something before we introduce them, I need to sit down with all the adults in the house and figure out what are our expectations in the house. Because I don't know if you know, kids figure out very, very quickly that when I'm with you, I can do this, and when I'm with you, I can do this, and when I'm with you, I can do this. And that really isn't helpful within a family unit, because then there's not consistency and they're not quite sure what to do, and they are going to test every limit that you set. So you want to make sure, again, that it's simple expectations and that you're consistent. And then again, visuals. Because children under the age of 8 think in visuals, I would encourage you to have some visuals of what the expectation is. In my classroom, I made what does it sound like and what does it look like for different parts of my day. And so you could do that for at the dinner table. What does it look like? It looks like we're all sitting down facing the table. What does it sound like? We're having a conversation. And then you would actually take a picture of that dinner time expectation, and you can review that before you sit down for dinner time. And I would encourage you just not to overwhelm you. Think about one time of day at your house that doesn't go exactly as you would hope that it would go. And I encourage you just to think about what's a visual expectation that I can make for that one time of day. And then once you start doing it, it becomes second nature. And I also want you to think about any time that you're going to do something different, like a family vacation, plan ahead for that, because you had these expectations for our time in our house, and then we go somewhere else and it gets a little chaotic. So plan ahead for those type of things and set those expectations also for that. So we talked about a lot today. I just want to review really quickly. We talked about the brain, and we talked about that we have to provide safety, connection, and problem solving, that we have a survival state, an emotional state, an executive state, and that we've got to get to this executive state to be able to solve problems. One way we can do that, we talked about having a brain smart start, where there's that uniting activity that we all did together. We had something to disengage the stress with our breathing. Then we had a connection activity that had the components of eye contact, touch, presence, and a playful situation, and that commitment piece. We also talked about increasing the connection throughout our day through I love you rituals, which again had the components of the eye contact, the touch, the presence, and a playful situation. Then we talked about ACT. When we want to focus on what we want the child to do, we're going to acknowledge what they wanted. We're going to clarify the limits, and then T, we're going to take time to practice. We also talked about having 2 positive choices. So I have a picture of my family, I'm going to end on this. One of my mentors, she has a picture of her family on her refrigerator with the words, "This too shall pass." And look at like how excited everyone looks. We just took a family trip to Savannah. You have no idea what happened prior to that picture, right? So parenting is a journey. It's a ride. Enjoy the moments. There's going to be some great moments. There's going to be some moments that are a little rough, but you've got this, you can do it, and just enjoy it. They grow up before your eyes, and I just encourage you to I'm going to wish you well on your journey, and thank you for spending this time with me. I appreciate it.